Hi there, I'm Heather. I am the parent of a 10-year-old Suzuki violin student. We have been taking lessons for 6 years with the same teacher, and we are currently practicing safe social distancing due to coronavirus. Everything where we are is canceled, including school, all activities, and we're stuck at home. And our music lessons are completely video lessons. But this isn't our first rodeo. We have done video lessons with our teacher many times when we were separated. So we've been traveling or something. So instead of just not having lessons for 1, 2, 3 months, we decided that we would do lessons on a video chat instead. And we've been doing this for the last 8 months too, because we also have been geographically separated. So I figure right now there's a lot of practice partners out there that are suddenly learning how to do a music lesson on a video chat, and I wanted to share my own experience and hopefully help some people out with some advice. Everything I'm about to say assumes that in Suzuki method that you have the cooperation of a teacher and a practice partner and a student, and that all three people are actively involved in the learning process. And another thing I really want to make sure that I say before I get started is from my experience of talking with other Suzuki parents through the years, I'm pretty typical. This video might come off as me sounding like, I got it all together, but, we struggle with practice and we argue and we do all those things that everybody else does. So one of these days I'll get somebody else in the house to videotape me while we have a practice session just to keep me honest. So let's all stick in this with each other together, and it'll all go well. All right, I have 3 big points to help you with a music lesson via video chat. So quickly what those 3 are, and then I'll go into each in more detail. The first is that you have to prepare for the lesson. This is not practicing. It's that before the lesson begins, you have to prepare for the lesson to begin. The second is to accept that the technology is going to make things odd. And if you know what those things are, it'll make it easier. And the last thing is about how a video chat changes the dynamic of how much concentration the practice partner and the student have to bring to the lesson. And that part really is the biggest advice I have as a practice partner. All right, so first, prepare for the lesson. If you're like me, you probably do something like this. You got a really busy life going on and you're running around, and when the day for the lesson comes up, you're trying to put everything all together, and you're getting your kids all put in the car and making sure everybody has food thrown at them, and you got to get all that stuff together, and you get to this teacher's studio, and then you kind of sit down, and meanwhile you're probably telling them things that they need to pay attention to during the lesson. And then finally your lesson time comes in and up, and you go into the studio, you sit down, and then you tune, and you kind of take a bow, and then you begin. A video chat is nothing like that. You're sitting around at your house, and if you don't do anything to prepare, all of a sudden you got a video chat lesson. And if that's all you do is sort of get the instrument out, it will not go well. It takes me about 15 minutes, me and my daughter, to get ready for the video chat. In that 15 minutes, I am gathering together things for the lesson, and my daughter, because she's 10 years old now, is doing things like getting her instrument ready. There's also a little bit of mental preparation that she's going through. Your student and how they need to mentally prepare for a lesson, but you kind of have to do that in a different setting, in a way that you haven't done it before. Okay, specific advice. So the things that I gathered together, all the music, metronome, rosin, all that stuff that you normally would do. Have 3 pencils ready to go, sharpened. Why 3? One of them will definitely break during the lesson. It always does. So at minimum, you need 2. And just in case you're having a really, really bad day and the second one breaks, you have a third there. So just start the lesson with 3 pencils sharpened. You need to have your instrument ready. So, bow tightened and rosined, shoulder rest on, and tuning. So a really, really honest thing about me, I actually don't know how to tune a violin. I have an app that I use that if my daughter plays one of her strings, that the app can detect what the pitch of the string is and tell me, it will indicate whether it's in tune or not, and then I can tune it. But you got to tune your instrument before the lesson begins, and you know how long that takes you. If you don't know how to do it, right now is the time that you figure out your hack. I mean, that's how I did it, is that I found myself, in another continent and realized it was up to me to keep that instrument tuned. So I came up with my app hack. You can come up with yours. It'll work. You'll be okay. If you have an older student, it might be worth doing scales and arpeggios before the lesson begins. If you're working on them during lesson and you repeat them, fine. But if you've already done them beforehand, then you're already warmed up. The last thing you want to do to prepare, immediately after the video chat starts, set whatever device you have to do not disturb. Okay? You have to wait until after the call starts, because otherwise you won't get the call. That leads me to my second point, which is the technology itself. The technology itself is going to make things really odd. It just is. We've all done video chat before, so we know the video gets disrupted. Sometimes the image will get pixelated, or the video will just get out of sync with the audio, or the video will drop altogether. Okay. If that happens and it really disrupts the lesson, like it was just something that really, really mattered that you needed to see instead of hear, then you can repeat that part. The audio quality on a video chat is really not very good. It just isn't. So strings, instruments, even, especially piano, I mean, anything with strings, it's just the acoustic quality that you get on a video chat is nowhere near what you would get in person. Just accept it. It's okay. Your child will be fine. Another thing about technology that will help, on video chat, you can decide whether or not you want your child, the student, to actually see the video of the teacher, and the teacher obviously always sees the student, or if you want to reverse that so that you're just having the camera on the student and the student can't see the video of the teacher. The reason why this may matter is because the video of a person is very distracting to a student, and depending on what they're doing, it may be beneficial to switch that phone around and you as the practice partner to see that video of the teacher, and for the student just to kind of concentrate on their instrument. It's a little bit of an odd experience because when I'm doing it, I'm watching the video of the teacher, and she may not even be aware that the student can't see her. Right? The person on the other end doesn't know who sees them, right? So she's making these reactions that are intended for the student, but the student can't see it. But again, just be aware of that it may be beneficial to make that change at different times. Sometimes it's better for a conversation between teacher and student. You have to make that call. So accept that the technology is limited, and it'll go better. the bit about the screens leads to my last point, which is that a video chat really, really, really requires the student, but especially the practice partner, to be far more attentive and actively engaged during a lesson. I'll start with the student first because that's kind of the easy one. This screen on the video chat is a barrier to learning. It's why music lessons work better in person, because you have that one-on-one, face-to-face, you can touch the instrument, you can work together experience, and the screen interferes with that. So the kid is going to get distracted because you've put a barrier between them and the teacher. So whatever strategies you have for trying to get over that, you know the student better than anybody. Use those strategies now. Anticipate it and work at it. And it's really important because the lesson itself has a different quality. So the student actually has to bring a higher level of attention than they would normally. So not only do they have to get over that barrier of the screen, they actually have to be better and more attentive than they would normally if you want to really have a really good lesson. For me as a practice partner during a video lesson, I am doing a completely different kind of a activity. During an in-person lesson, I'm kind of in the background and just taking notes and making sure everything gets done. In a video lesson, I am right next to my daughter, usually, following along with music. I mean, taking notes the whole time. The whole time I'm taking notes. I mean, when we get done, I have a whole page of everything that's happened. And if it needs to be cleaned up, I do that after the lesson. But it's just a lot of information, because instead of her teacher being there face-to-face with her, I'm the person who's face-to-face with her. So I have to kind of step into a different role than is really ideal, or the way that music lessons are kind of envisioned to happen the best way. So just accept that lesson time is a time in which you're really, really going to be focused on the lesson, and it'll work a lot better. So 3 points. Prepare for the lesson. That's number one. Prepare for the lesson in an active way. Number two, just accept that the technology has its limitations. And if you know what they are, then, you can work around them. And then lastly, right, figure out ways to help your own student be more attentive and concentrate better, and be very engaged yourself, way more so than you're used to doing. It'll help in the long run. Okay. That's all I have. Good luck to everybody. I hope you stay healthy, and yeah, let's all get through this so we can make music together in person again soon.